In this CineGuru tutorial, we're going to take a look at camera shake triggers, and they, well, pretty much do what they say on the tin. They add camera shake to your shots, and they can do that in a couple of different ways. So first, let's take a look at this little demo scene we've got set up here. It's very simple. It's a static camera, just literally pointing out at the horizon. This camera's name is Shaky, and it's a 5-second shot, and yeah, fixed sort of field of view for the entire length of the shot. So all good stuff. We're now going to add a shake trigger to our scene, and I'm going to place this near my camera. It doesn't have to be near, it can be anywhere in the map, but I like to keep mine quite near the camera that it's going to be affecting. So if we open up its properties, we can see there's a number of different parameters here that we can change and we can tweak. The first one's pretty self-explanatory. We put in the name of the camera that it's going to be affecting. So we would like to add camera shake to the camera called Shaky. Then we've got this next one, shake type. There's two different types of shake you can have with a camera shake trigger, set and add. So set applies shake to the entire duration of the shot. So our shot's 5 seconds, it's going to shake for the whole of those 5 seconds. You can also use add, we'll get onto that later, but that kind of is when you want to kind of add shake in the middle of a shot. So you want the beginning to be quite still and then the shake to start sort of suddenly, like, I don't know, maybe if there's an explosion or something, or an earthquake or whatever. As we are using set, we don't really want to have any kind of delay because we just want the shake to kind of apply to the whole of the shot. So we'll set the delay to 0. And now we can define the characteristics of the shake itself. So we've got these two values, trauma and period. So trauma is kind of like the violence of the shake. So it goes from 0 to 100, it's like percentage. So if we were to pick a low number, that would be like a very subtle shake, almost like a kind of a jitter. And if we were to go for 100, that's like really violent kind of direction changes. If we set it to something like 25, that's fairly kind of sedate. The period is like the speed of the shake. So if we were to set that to a low number, that would be like quick direction changes. You know, the direction changes very quickly. So it would be, yeah, like an earthquake or something. Whereas if we were to pick quite a high number, like for example 500, that's a lot slower and more sort of flowing, and there is definitely a shake there, but it's kind of smoother and slower. So what we've set up with these parameters here already is effectively like a kind of a handheld camera shake. So it's not like overly shaky, it's just a little bit of subtle shake going on in the background. And when you're using set as your shake type, you don't actually need to bother with fade or node, so we can delete both of those parameters for now. And we'll just take a look at what our shot looks like. So let's go and activate the camera, and you can see, yeah, I mean, it's quite a subtle camera shake. So we can start playing around with some of these parameters and just seeing what they do. So first off, let's set that trauma all the way up to 100. So now this is like a really violent camera shake, and we'll set the period down to 10. So the direction changes are very quick. It's a very fast, violent shaking motion, and so this is yeah, this is kind of like, yeah, violent and quite disorientating. Yeah, I mean, that's quite difficult to watch, but you never know. I mean, if it was an earthquake, you might actually kind of want to show something like that. So that's how you can use set. If I just delete that and we'll kind of start again from scratch. The other shake type you can have is add. And add obviously adds camera shake to the middle of a shot. So again, we will set this up from scratch. So our camera name was Shaky, and this time we'll set our shake type to add. And this time we do want to add a delay. So our shot is 5 seconds. So if we were to add in a 2-second delay, we could, that means the shaking will only start at the 2-second mark. And then we're going to add in some trauma. So let's make that quite violent. Let's make it 70. And the period, 10 was quite small last time. So let's go for 50 this time. So a little bit less, a little bit of a slower shake. And then you can also start playing around with these two values. Fade is how quickly you want the fade to dissipate away. So it kind of works the opposite way around to any other fade in CineGuru, because larger numbers actually result in a very quick fade, whereas smaller numbers result in a very slow fade. So if we were to pick something like 5, it's basically subtracting 5 out of the strength and period every frame, so it's gonna drop at a certain rate. But if we were to say 50, it would drop like almost instantly. It would kind of stop shaking almost instantly. And you can use decimals as well, so you could do sort of 0.1 if you wanted a really kind of gradual fading out of that shake. This particular shot doesn't have any nodes, so we actually don't need this node parameter, so we can go ahead and delete that. So let's take a look at what we've got so far. So what we should see is our shot is kind of static for 2 seconds, and then the shake is induced. And you can see it did actually fade out quite quickly there. So I think what I might do is just change that a little bit, make it not fade out so quickly. And I might, yeah, let's go with 1, and we'll just see if that's a bit more obvious. So you might want to use this effect if, like, you know, you're simulating an explosion or something where there's like a kind of a shock wave or something, and it kind of gradually fades away to nothing. So that's quite nice. That looks pretty good. Another way you can use add is also in a kind of a more complicated camera move like this. So this is a kind of a complex camera move. We've got our camera starts here and then goes through 2 nodes before it reaches an endpoint. I think this camera is called Quake, but that was just because I wanted a unique name. It doesn't really matter what you call your cameras, and in fact the effect that we're going to create probably isn't going to look like an earthquake very much. It's going to look like something else. So let's drop in a camera shake marker. Let's move our player start marker over as well. Okay, so we're going to name this camera shake trigger as Quake, and again we're going to set it to add. And so the delay this time, when you're working with a camera movement that has nodes in it, you need to specify the node that the camera is on its way to when you want the camera shake to occur. So for instance, if we wanted the camera shake to appear kind of here at the midpoint, well, it's at node 1 and it's kind of traveling to node 2. So I would put 2 as the node. So node 2. In fact, I'm going to save these as we go and kind of keep checking back in on this. So I'm just double checking the length of time of each of the sections of this shot. So it takes 2 seconds for our camera to reach node 1, and then it takes another 2 seconds for it to reach node 2, and then I think it takes another 2 seconds for it to reach node 3. So we're looking at a 6-second shot here. The delay parameter, a little bit like with anything to do with camera nodes, the delay is the delay since you passed the last node. So we're saying that we want to trigger this camera shake while the camera is on the way to node 2. So the delay is how many milliseconds after it passed node 1 do we want that delay to happen. So if I were to type in 1000, so that's 1 second after the camera passes node 1, that's when we're going to get our shake. And to make it nice and obvious that our shake is happening, we'll go back to doing a kind of a violent shaking motion. So full strength, relatively low period, and we will have the fade kind of quite gradually fade out. So we'll choose a value of 1. Okay, so with all that in mind, we should now be able to drop into our level, trigger our cameras, and you'll see that the camera shake happens kind of in the midpoint of our camera move. Bang. Okay, so I don't think it actually faded out enough in time for the end of the shot, so I might tweak that a little bit and have it kind of fade off a little bit more rapidly. So it's currently just fading at a rate of 1, but if I were to change that to 3, that's now obviously 3 times as fast that it's going to drop off. There you go. We kind of just about finished shaking by the time we got to the end of that sequence. So that's how you can use camera shake triggers to add a little bit of dynamism to your shots.